Okay, we'll be learning today towards the bottom of Kuf Chavav Amud Beis, the beginning of a new Perek here in Mefanen. We learned the Mishnah. We'll begin the Gemara right after the Mishnah. Zak the Gemara. So in the Mishnah it said that if you have a place that you were storing boxes there and you have to empty it out, whether for guests or to make space for people for Beis HaMedrash to come and learn Torah there. So the Mishnah said you can empty out 4 or 5 boxes. Fragt the Gemara, hashta chomish mefanen, if you're allowed to empty it out with five of the boxes, arba mibaya, does it have to say if the number 4? It should just tell you 5 boxes, and of course I know that you can do 4 as well. Amar Rav Chisda, so Rav Chisda's pshat in the Mishnah is arba mechomish. If there are 5 boxes in that spot of storage, so then you can't remove everything. You can take only 4 of the 5. One of them you have to leave there. V'chamesh, the number of chamesh, 5, is ma'itza gadol. If you have a larger amount, if you have more than 5 boxes, you could only take 5. That's the maximum you can take, and the rest you have to leave there. As Rashi explains, the reason why you can't empty out the entire storage, you have to leave something there, is because if you empty it out entirely, then the place will be exposed, and you'll see that the ground is not smooth, and you may come to smooth out the ground on Shabbos. So therefore you have to leave something there, so it's still left as a oitzer to some degree, and you won't come to flatten out the ground. So that's the pshat in the first statement of the Mishnah when it said arba and then chamish. The next thing it said in the Mishnah was avoloi esa oitzer. So now the Gemara explains, according to Rav Chisda's pshat, umay avoloi esa oitzer. What does it mean and not the storage? Now, simply you would think the pshat of the Mishnah is that you shouldn't empty out the whole storage. But according to Rav Chisda's pshat, this is what it means when it says arba. Arba means only 4 from 5, meaning you can't empty out the entire storage. When it says chamesh, chamesh means only 5 from a larger storage. So we already know that you're not allowed to empty out the entire thing. So what does it mean? Avaloi esa oitzer. So therefore Rav Chisda says a different pshat in these words. Shalayaschil ba'oitzer tchila. If a person has storage that he did not use anything of the storage yet from before Shabbos, it's brand new, it's fresh storage there that he didn't touch yet. So on Shabbos, he's not allowed to go for the very first time and take something from this storage because it's not prepared for use. He didn't designate it, he didn't take anything from it yet, and therefore it's muktzeh. Umani, who is the one that holds this level of muktzeh? Rabbi Yehuda. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, the Islay muktzeh. Rabbi Yehuda says, even if you didn't mamish purposely and intentionally put it aside, but the very fact that it's a storage that has not been used from yet, that is muktzeh, and you're not allowed to use it on Shabbos. That's the meaning of the Mishnah, avol loy esa oitzer, that you're not allowed to take from a oitzer for the first time. Shmuel has a different shot in the Mishnah. Arba v'chamesh, when the Mishnah says you could move 4 or 5 boxes, kedamri inchi. It's just an expression of the way people speak, 4 or 5 boxes, and the truth is the number is not precise. If you wish, you can move out as many boxes necessary in order to make space for the guest or the Beis HaMedrash. So now, according to this pshat, so the first part of the Mishnah is saying that you can move out as much as you want. So then when the Mishnah continues and says, but not the whole oitzer, so the pshat is simple. You're allowed to empty out as many boxes as you want, so long as you don't completely empty out the whole oitzer, for the same reason as we mentioned, Rashi says, so it shouldn't be fully exposed and you won't come to flatten out the ground. So the Gemara, the Gemara here itself says it. And you may come to flatten out the ground on Shabbos. Aval aschuli maschili. So now, according to this pshat, you may begin to use an oitzer for the first time, even though it wasn't used from before. When it says avaleyas oitzer, that's not what the Mishnah is saying. It's not referring to using the oitzer for the first time, and that would be allowed. Mani, so according to Shmuel's pshat, who is the Mishnah going according to? Rab Shimon. It goes according to Rab Shimon, the leslei muktzeh, that in this case, Rab Shimon does not hold of muktzeh. Muktzeh would only be if you mamish designated it for something else and it's muktzeh. But over here, just the fact that you didn't use it from before, that's not enough to make it muktzeh. Tana Rabbanon, we learned in a Braise, ein maschilin ba'oitzer tchila, following Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that you're not allowed to take anything from a storage for the first time on Shabbos. Aval, oise b'shvil kidei sheyikanis v'yetze. You're allowed to make a pathway to walk in and out. Frag the Gemara, Oise by Shvil, he can make a pathway to move things in this Oitze, to walk in and out. In the beginning of this Braisa, you say that you're not allowed to use an Oitze for the first time on Shabbos, it's Muktzah. So how are you going to make a pathway to go in and out? Answers the Gemara, Hachikama. The pshat here is as follows. If he has to walk in and out as a pathway through this Eitzer, so with his feet, as he's walking in and out, he can kick things aside and make himself the pathway by walking through. So from here we see that regarding Muktzah, if you're taking something by hand directly, so then that's not allowed. But if you're just walking on your way and there's Muktzah there and you're kicking it aside and making your pathway through, that's not a problem. Tana Rabbanon, we learned in another Braise, Tvua Tzibura, Tvua that's piled up, is man shehischal ba me'erev Shabbos. If you made the pile from before Shabbos, mutter l'stapik mimena b'Shabbos. You're allowed to use it on Shabbos. V'im lav, but if not, aser l'stapik mimena b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to use it for Shabbos. So if you piled it up, so then you prepared it. You prepared it to feed for your animals. But if you didn't pile it up for before Shabbos, you didn't prepare it in advance, you're not allowed to use it. Divrei Rab Shimon, this is Rab Shimon's shitta. Rav Ache mater. Rav Ache says either way it's allowed. You didn't purposely set it aside, and it's useful to the animals to feed them. So even if you didn't make a pile, either way it'd be allowed to be used for the animals. Frek the Gemara klapelai. The opinions over here seem to be upside down. It's in the wrong direction. Why? Usually we know Rab Shimon is the one that's more lenient regarding muktzah. And over here, Rab Shimon is the one that's more stringent, that you had to have made it a pile in advance, and Rab Acha is the one that's more lenient. Elo Emo, so the Gemara says, rather we have to say, Divrei Rab Acha. Rab Acha was the one that was more stringent about this muktzah, but Rab Shimon, matter. Rab Shimon was the one that was lenient, and he is the one that said that even if it wasn't made as a pile, if it's useful for the animal to feed the animal, it's not muktzah. Tana, we learned in Abraise, Kama Shir Tvua Tzavura. What's the shear of a pile of Tvua that it was piled up and you could use it for Shabbos? The answer is Lesech. If it's the amount of a Lesech. A Lesech, Rashi says, is a half a kor or 15 saw. The same question was asked from Abaye. Shir Tvua Tzavura Bekama. What's the shear of the pile of Tvua? So he answered, Amru, it was said, Shir Tvua Tzvura Lesech. The shear of the pile of Tvua is a Lesech. The question was asked, going back to the Mishnah, where it said that you could move storage. How much could you move? 4 or 5 boxes. So as Rashi explains, the following Iboyas of the Gemara here will all be according to Rav Chistis Pshat, that when it said in the Mishnah, Arba or Chomesh, it's exact. It's either Arba or Chomesh, and not according to Shmuel that said that it's just a random number and it could be even more. But now, according to Rav Chisda, the Gemara has these questions. Hani Arba v'Chomesh kupais, when it says 4 or 5 boxes, the Ka'ama that the Mishnah says, Ba'arba v'Chomesh kupais in. Do I say that it's only if he's carrying it, all the contents of one box and another box, up to 4 or 5 boxes, that's what you're allowed to carry out. But again, the ba'arba v'chamish kupis in tfei loy. If you want to take the things out of the boxes, out of the 4 or 5 boxes, and carry it in smaller amounts, it wouldn't be allowed. Alma. So if this would be true, then I see from this l'mu'ute behiluche adif. The fact that he's minimizing the trips that he has to make to take out the things from this place, that's better. Even though he's going to be carrying heavier boxes, and he's only going to make 4 or 5 trips by carrying out each box, the whole entire contents of the box at a time, it's better to do that and not to take out the contents of a box and take out only a part of a box, and you can come back 10 or 15 times, because walking less is less of a tirche, and that's more important. Or perhaps we say, to minimize the weight of the boxes would be better. So the Mishnah is only telling you the amount of boxes and the weight of these boxes. But if you want to take it out and take it one little part at a time, and it'll be more trips to go, so even though you're going to be walking more back and forth, but the weight is less. The weight is going to be less, and that's less of a tircha, and that's better. That's the shaila over here. So what is more important regarding not being matriach yourself on Shabbos? Not walking the extra trips back and forth, or not carrying such a heavy load? The Rebbe in a Sikhe points out that this Gemara could be used as one of the sources to the famous Shaila B'negei to Kamos and Eichos. Quantity versus quality. What outweighs what? Is quantity more significant or is quality more significant? So right over here you have the quantity of times that he has to walk back and forth. There's the tirche in that quantity, or there's the tirche in the quality. He's only walking 4 or 5 times, but every time he goes it's a heavier load. So this Gemara, that's the basis of the question here. Toshema, so the Gemara brings the Raya. The Tani Chodem, one brayso we learned, Mefanen afila arba v'chamish kupos shokade shemen v'shokade yayin. You could clear out 4 or 5 boxes of oil or wine, like the shear that it said in our Mishnah, 4 or 5 boxes. V'tanya idach, however, in another brayso we learned, be'eser u'b'chamish esra. You can clear out 10 or 15. So it would mean 10 or 15 boxes. This is a contradiction here. So my love, in order to resolve this contradiction, don't you think the pshat here is, here's what the argument is. The mar savar miyute behilucha adif, the brayso that says that you take 4 or 5 boxes means you have to take the full contents of the boxes at once, like it said in the Mishnah, 4 or 5, and you can't take any more trips. So that's the 4 or 5 trips. Umar Savar, the other opinion that it says 10 or 15, it didn't mean 10 or 15 boxes. What it means to say is you can make 10 or 15 trips by taking some contents of the box and coming back a few times, up to 10 or 15 times. So miyute b'masa yadav, it's better that he minimizes the weight of what he carries. That's what the argument is about. So the Gemara says, loi, not necessarily. The kula alma, everybody would agree, mu'ute behiluche adif. It's better to minimize the trips you walk back and forth and only take out 4 or 5 boxes, all the contents of the box at once. So what is the difference between these two braysos here? Umi savres be'eser u'bechamesh esra. When it says 10 or 15, akupes koi, that it's referring to the number of boxes, akaden koi, it's referring to the jugs that are inside the boxes. And v'loi kashya, it's not a question. Ha, the mishtakli chad bekupa. One, the brayso where it says that it's 4 or 5 boxes, there's large jugs. In each box there's only 1 jug, so it's 4 or 5 jugs. V'ha, the mishtakli today, when it says that you have 10, so for 5 boxes, if you have 2 jugs in every box, so the 10 refers to the jugs, not to the boxes. The 2 jugs is in every box, so that's 10 jugs. V'ha, the mishtakli tlosa. And then you have boxes that are large enough, or small enough, again, you have... not boxes that are large enough. You have jugs that are small enough that you can fit smaller jugs. You can fit 3 jugs into every box. And the Gemara gives an example, ubidikuri the harpanya, like the small jugs of the city Harpanya that are small enough to fit 3 in each box, and that's the number 15. So the braysos here was not talking about the number of boxes, it was talking about the number of jugs that are inside the boxes. Another shaila was asked, again, according to the pshat of Rav Chisda in the Mishnah, that he said it's 4 or 5 boxes, not more. The 4 or 5 that it says in the Mishnah. Afal gav the isle orchin tuva. Does Rav Chisda say that this Mishnah here is, even if he has many guests and he does need an unusual amount of space to empty it out, even then do we say that it's only 4 or 5? Even according to Rav Chisda, the pshat in the Mishnah is, if you have regular amount of guests, then you clear out only 4 or 5. But if you have a more amount of guests, so then you can clear out even more. So this is a question only according to Rav Chisda. According to Shmuel's pshat, it doesn't matter how many guests you have. Either way, you can clear out as much as you want. The question is, according to Rav Chisda, that said, you can clear out 4 or 5. Perhaps if you have a bigger number of guests, maybe you could clear out more. And if we'll say that even Rav Chisda agrees that it depends on the number of guests you have, we can ask another question. Should we say one person should clear it all out? Or perhaps in such a case where you have more guests, one person shouldn't do this all this tirche by himself and clear all of it out by himself. You should divide it. Every person will have to clear out for himself. Everybody there will have to help and clear out for themselves to make space. We don't want one person to be matriach to such a degree all by himself on Shabbos. Tarshama, the Gemara brings a raya to this. Pam achas holach Rebbe lemokim echad. Once Rebbe came to a place on Shabbos, and he saw that the place is very, very not room. There's not enough room for the Talmidim. So he couldn't give a shir there. V'yotza l'sada, he went out into the field to give a shir outdoors. U'matzah sada, but there in the field he again encountered a problem. U'matzah sada meleya oimrim, he finds the field full of bundles of wheat. V'imer Rebbe kol asada kula, so Rebbe cleared the whole field. He made the space for them to be able to sit down there to do the shir. Right? Obviously, it was done in a way that the malacha of ma'amer did not apply. He did not gather them that the malacha of ma'amer would apply. And Rashi clarifies another detail. An open field is a karmelis. And a karmelis is a place that midrabanan you're not allowed to carry 4 amas. So he must have carried it, he must have cleared it by moving it less than 4 amas at a time. And therefore the heter over here is, and this is a heter that's used for many other scenarios, shvos, the shvos b'makim mitzvah. There's the first shvos is the fact that it's an issa midrabanan to move there because it's only a karmelis. Then it's a double shvos, meaning it's a issa d'Rabbanan within a karmelis because he was only moving it less than 4 amas at a time. So a shvos to shvos in the place of a mitzvah to clear the place for the shir, to learn Torah, that's allowed. Okay, so this is from, what do we see from this story? That you're able to clear for the amount of guests, for whatever was necessary, for all the people that came to the shir, you're able to clear it all. Rav Yosef said in the name of Oishia, he came to a place, and he saw indoors there wasn't enough space for the students. He went out into the field, he found the field full of bundles of and he gathered them and he made space. Rabchia cleared out the field for them to be able to sit there. So Shmami no, from both of these stories we see Hakail Lefi Ha'archen. It's all according to the number of guests. When it says in the Mishnah 4 or 5, that's in a regular situation. But if you have more guests and you have to make more space, you're allowed to clear out even more. Okay, but the question still remains. The other question we ask, when you have to clear out a lot more than 4 or 5, does one person clear out everything? Or you have to share the work and everybody should clear out part of it? That we didn't answer yet. So the Gemara says, Tashema, but look right here in the story, what does it say? V'imer Rebbe. That Rebbe is the one that cleared out the field. So doesn't it say that Rebbe, one person, went and did the whole thing? So the Gemara says, L'taimeich, according to the way you interpret the story, Rebbe b'denafshei imer, Rebbe all on his own went and cleared out the field. Do you think that's what happened here? As Rashi says, Rebbe was a nasi, and it's not appropriate for a nasi to be clearing out the field, to clear the place for the shear that he's going to give. Ella, what happened there? Tziva v'imer. Rebbe commanded others to clear it out. That's what it means that he cleared it out. He cleared it by commanding others to clear out the field. And if so, we can say that really kol chad v'chad mefani lenafshei. Everybody has to clear out on his own what's needed for him, and if there's more than 4 or 5 boxes needed to be cleared, everybody has to help in clearing it out. Now the Gemara comes, it said in the Mishnah that we clear out all these boxes mipnei ha'orchim for the mitzvah of achnasas orchim. So the Gemara here will discuss the greatness of this mitzvah of achnasas orchim. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, gedola achnasas orchim kashkamas beis hamedrash. Achnasas orchim is so great, like coming to learn in shul early in the morning. The Ktani, because here in the Mishnah it brings them together, mipnei ha'orchim u'mipnei bittul beis hamedrash, to clear out the boxes on Shabbos, even though it's a tircha, they allowed for these 2 purposes. So we see that it's compared to beis hamedrash. Rav Dimi Menardo Omar, Rav Dimi Menardo takes this a step further. Yosem ashkamas beis hamedrash. Inviting guests is even greater than going to shul. Diktani, because the Mishnah says mipnei ha'orchim. First it says you're clearing out the space for guests, and v'hadar, only afterwards does it mention mipnei bittul beis hamedrash. Does it mention that you can clear out to make space to be able to learn there? So we see that the Tanam brings achnasas orchim first because it's even greater than the learning Torah. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Gedoyla achnasas orchim akbalas pnei shchina. Achnasas orchim is greater than even receiving the face of the Shechina. The Chsiv, the Pasuk says by Avraham Avinu, when the Eibishter comes to Avraham Avinu to visit him after the Bris Milah, and he's standing there with the Eibishter. So what does it say? He says to the Eibishter, Vayomer Hashem. According to this pshat, the word Hashem over here, he's speaking to the Eibishter. There's another pshat that he wasn't speaking to the Eibishter, but as the Marsha explains, here the Gemara is saying that he was speaking to the Eibishter. Im no matzasi chem beinecha, al nataver v'gaimer, do not leave me while I tend to the guests. So we see over here that Avraham Avinu left the presence of speaking to the Eibishter, and he went to tend to the guests. So Kabbalah's, the Achnasas Orchim is greater than Kabbalah's Pnei HaShechina. So there's the famous question regarding Avraham Avinu. How did Avraham Avinu himself know that this is the case? That G'dayla Achnasas Orchim Yeisim Kabbalah's Pnei HaShechina. It's such a big chiddush that this is true. How did Avraham Avinu know this? So the answer is because the Eibishter took the sun out of its shield and made it a very hot day. So Avraham Avinu should not have to invite the guests because the Eibishter didn't want him to work hard because after the Bris Milah he was in pain. So the question is, Avraham was thinking to himself, why does the Eibishter have to take out the sun? The Eibishter is here with me anyway. So while I'm here with the Eibishter, I'm not allowed to go to tend to the guests. Elamai, Avraham Avinu understood from this that even while the Eibishter is here, I would be allowed to tend to the guests. So therefore, we see that even while the Eibishter is there, tend to the guests is greater than Kabbalah's Pnei HaShechina. Or let me add one more vart that the Rebbe says in the Sikha. The question here is, who were these guests? They were malachim, and they didn't really eat. They didn't need the food. They came for a different purpose. It was only nirika eichlin. So he didn't really fulfill the mitzvah of achnasas orchim here. So he left the shechina to do something that appeared to be achnasas orchim, but it wasn't really achnasas orchim. But the answer is that the mitzvahs, the Rebbe explains, before Matan Torah are different than the mitzvahs after Matan Torah. After Matan Torah, the main point of a mitzvah is to affect the cheftzeh, to make the change, to actually give to the person that's receiving, that on the receiving end there should be an effect that you have. Mashenkin, before Matan Torah, all the mitzvahs was about the ruchnisdige experience of the person doing the mitzvah. Regardless of the effect that the mitzvah has on the object or the other person that's on the receiving end, the whole concept of the mitzvah before Matan Torah was the ruchnisdige aspect of it, the experience of the doer of the mitzvah. And that Avraham Avinu had b'shleimus in his mitzvah of achnasas orchim. Amar Rabbi Lazar, boy yurei, let's come and see. Shaloi ki midas HaKadosh Baruch Hu midas basa v'dam. The attributes of the Eibishter is not like that of a human being. Midas basa v'dam, by a human being, ein kotten yachal lamoid loymar legodel hamten at shavi etzlecha. A smaller person does not say to a more prominent person, wait for me, I'm going to go, I have to do something, wait and I'll be back. But by Kadosh Baruch Hu ksiv, but by the Eibishter, Avraham Avinu tells him, Vayemer Hashem im namatzasi, that please wait for me and I come right back. So that the Marsha explains that by the Eibishter, since Maloi Chol Haaretz Kevaydai, so therefore the fact that Avraham Avinu leaves and comes back is not considered to be that he's not giving the Eibishter the honor, that the Eibishter is waiting for him, because Maloi Chol Haaretz Kevaydai. There are 6 things. A person eats of the fruits of the reward in this world. And the principle of the reward remains and is there for him in Olam Haba. Hachnasa sarchim, inviting guests, b'kachaylim, visiting the sick, v'iyun tefillah, concentrating and davening, v'ashkamas beis hamedrash, coming early to shul, v'hamegadol banov l'talmud Torah, raising your children to learning Torah, v'hadon es chaveiro l'kavschos, judging your friend favorably. Fact, the Gemara, Eini, is this the case? These are the 6 that we say that the Pereseim Abaylam Azeh and Keren Kayemes Leilam Abba. There's the famous Mishnah that we say every day. Vohoanan Tanan, and the Mishnah it says, Eilu Dvarim Shadam Oisab, Ashadam Oisam Va'echol Pereseim Abaylam Azeh Keren Kayemes Leilam Abba. And what are they? Ve'elohein Kibud of Eim, Gimlas Chasadim, Hava Shalom Shabarim Lachaveri, V'tamatayre Keneged Kulam. So it's a different list. In the Nusach of our Siddur, it's different, but this is the list that the Nusach that we have over here. And this is a different list. It's not the same as what Rabbi Yochanan mentioned. Hani in, so in the Mishnah it's mashma, these are the ones, and Midi Achrin Eloi, not the others that were mentioned before, whether it was Iyun Tefillah or Adonis Chaver Lekavs Chus, he added other ones that were not mentioned in the Mishnah here. So the Gemara explains, Hani nami bahani shaychi. These that Rabbi Yochanan mentioned are included in the ones that are mentioned in the Mishnah. As Rashi explains, Hachnasa Sarchim, Bika Chaylim is all part of Gemilas Chasadim. Even Iyun Tefillah, concentrating and davening, is also part of Gemilas Chasadim. You're doing the greatest favor to yourself. As Rashi here brings the pasuk, Goimel Nafshoy Ish Chesed, that you're being kind to your nafshoy, to your nefesh bahamas, you're davening and you're having kavanah and davening. Hashkamas Beis HaMedrash and Gidul Banim, coming to shul to daven and raising your children for learning Torah, of course, is part of Talmud Torah. And Donas Chaveiro Lekavschos is part of Havas Shalom Ben Adam Lachaveiro. So therefore, the things Rabbi Yochanan said are included in what it says in the Mishnah. He just spelled it out. Tana Rabbanon. So now the Gemara will bring us stories about judging another person favorably. We learned in Abraisa Hadon Chaver lekavschos. When you judge your friend favorably, Don and Oisa lekavschos. The Eibishter will judge you favorably. Umais about the Mecha. There was a story with one person. Sheyorad mi Golil Elyon. He came down from the Golil Elyon in Eretz Yisrael, and he came to work v'niskaretz balabayis, and he was hired by a balabayis. As we'll see later in the Gemara, this balabayis was Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes, and it says that the one that was working for him was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva came, this was before he became the famous Rabbi Akiva, and he was still working for somebody, and he came to work for Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes, Bedarim in the south, Shalish Shanim, and he was working for him for 3 years. Erev Yom Kippurim, so it was on an Erev Yom Kippur, and he was going home. Allah, he said to his employer, Ten li schari, give me my wages. Ve'elech ve'ezen asishti ubanai, and I'll go and I'll be able to feed my wife and children. Allah, so Rabbi Elazar ben Hukenes says to him, Ein li mois, I have no money. Amalai, Rabbi Akiva says to him, Ten li peiris, give me fruit. Amalai says to him, Ainli, I have no fruit either. Ten li karka, give me a piece of field that I can make a profit from. Ainli, I don't have either. Ten li behema, give me an animal. Ainli, I don't have either. Ten li karim iksasais, give me pillows, blankets that I can use. Ainli, I don't have that either. So he have nothing to offer him. Hivshel kelev la'achayrav, he threw Rabbi Akiva threw his kelim, his packages on his back. And v'holach lebeisa, he went on his way home, v'pachei nefesh, very disappointed that he had nothing to bring home. La'achar regel, now after the Yom Tiv, notal balabayis charay, the employer, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes, had the reward, the payment, and he took all the payment in his hands. V'imoi, and along with him he brought masoi gimel chamayrim, a load of 3 donkeys. Echad shel meichel, one loaded up with food. Echad shel mishta, the other loaded with drinks. Echad shel minim megadim, and the third one with all kinds of delicacies. V'halach loy lebeisai, and he went to Rabbi Akiva to his house. Acha sha'achlu v'shasu, and so after they ate and drank together, nasan le'scharai, so he paid him. So now Amaloi, so now he said to him, B'shasha martali, 10 li schari. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes is saying, when you said to me, pay me, va'amarti, and I answered you, ein li mois, I have no money to pay you. But mechashadatani, what did you suspect me of, that I'm saying this to you, that I can't pay? Amarti, so Rabbi Akiva says, you know what I said? Shema prakmatya bezel nizdam nalach. Maybe you had some merchandise that became available below value, and you invested all your money in this merchandise, and therefore you had nothing to pay. So as the Mefarshim explain, if this merchandise would have become available on the day that he was obligated to pay Rabbi Akiva, he wouldn't be allowed to buy these merchandise even below price. But it became available a time before, and he bought them, and he invested all his money, and he didn't see the return yet. He had nothing to pay. Ubishar shamartali tenli behema. And when you told me, give me at least an animal, va'amarti, and I answered you, enli behema, I don't have any animal to give you. B'mechashadatani, what did you suspect me then? Amarti, so Rabbi Akiva says, you know what I said? Shema muskeres b'yad acherim. Maybe you leased out your animals to others, so you have nothing available. V'shasha martali tenli karka. When you said to me, give me a field, va'amarti loch, and I answered you, ainli karka, I have no fields either. B'mechashadatani, what did you suspect me then? Amarti, so Rabbi Akiva says, I said to myself, Shema muchkeres b'yad acherim. Maybe the lands that you have were leased out to others. Ubishasha amarti loch, and when I told you, ainli peiris, I have no fruits to give you either. What did you suspect me then? That I don't have any fruits available? Amarti, so Rabbi Akiva says, I said to myself, Shema einan musaris. Perhaps the peiris, the meiser, wasn't taken yet, and therefore you didn't want to give me these without meisters. This was before Rabbi Akiva became Rabbi Akiva, so you didn't want to give me the peiris without taking meiser of it first. And when I told you, I have no pillows or blankets either. So what did you suspect me with now, that I don't even have this to give you? Rabbi Akiva says, I said to myself, Shema hikdish kol mechasav l'shamayim. Perhaps he was makdish all of his possessions to Shamayim, and therefore nothing's available for him to pay. Amalei, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes answered him, Ho aveda. I swear in the service of the Eibishter, ka choya. This is exactly what happened. Hidarti kol nechasai. I made a neder, a vow to give away all my nechasim, all my possessions to the Eibishter. B'shvil horkenis b'ni, for my son horkenis. Shalei osak b'Torah. He wasn't learning Torah, so I wanted to give this amount of everything away to tzedakah, so you should be able to learn Torah. And then the kishabasi etz chaverai bedarim. When I came to my friends here in the south. So he tituli kol nedare. They annulled my vows, and now I was able to pay you. I was able to come and pay you the wages that I owed you. But I said, "Va'ato and Yuda bekive kishem shedantani l'schus." Just as you have judged me favorably, hamakim yodin oischel l'schus. The Eibusha should judge you favorably as well. The Gemara brings another story where we see to judge another person favorably. Tana Rabbana, we learned in another Braisa, Maisa b'chassid echad. There was a story with a chassid, and Rashi here says, when it says here chassid echad, or anywhere where it says chassid echad in the Gemara, it either refers to Rabbi Yehuda ben Bave or Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Loi. Shepada riva achas bas Yisrael. So he redeemed a Jewish girl from captivity. When they came to an inn, hishkiva tachas margalaisov. So they slept in the same room, and she was sleeping by his feet in the same room. Lamachra, the next morning, Yorad, he came out of his room. Yorad v'toval, he went out of his room. He went to tovel in a mikveh, and v'shana, and he came to teach Torah to his talmidim that were with him. And then v'amar lehen, he said to his talmidim, when I brought her into my room and I put her to sleep by my feet, what did you suspect me of doing here, that I'm bringing her into my room? So his students answered him, Amarnu, we said, maybe there's one student amongst us that you don't know exactly if you can trust him or not, and therefore you wanted to bring the girl in with you. The next morning I came out of the room and I went to the mikveh. What did you suspect me of now? It seems like I'm going to the mikveh because I had forbidden relations with her, and therefore I'm going to the mikveh. Amarnu, they said, maybe because of the traveling, so you became a keri and you had to go to the mikveh for that purpose. So he answered them, I swear that this is exactly what happened, and va'atem kishem shedantuni lekavschus, just as you have judged me favorably, hamakim yodin eschem lekavschus, the Eibusha should judge you favorably as well. Tana Rabbana, we learned in a third case, in a third braisa of a story that happened. There was once the Talmidei Chachamim had to get something done with this matronisa, with this prominent woman. That was a guy that they had to arrange something with her. It's a matronicha achas. Shekol gedolei Romi mitzuyin etzlo. All the great people of Rome are with her. So who are they going to send over here? It's not a very appropriate place for a yid to be. Amru, so they said, Mi yelech. Who's going to go? Amlem Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua said, Ani yelech. I'm ready to go. Halach Rabbi Yeshua v'talmidav. Rabbi Yeshua went along with his talmidim, with an entourage of his students. Kivin shigi lepesach beisa. When he arrived to the door of her house, chalatz tfilav, he removed his tefillin berichok arba ames, in this space of 4 ames before her house, he removed his tefillin. V'nichnas, he entered into the house. V'noal adelas b'fneim, and he locked the door behind him, and he was there alone with her. Achash yatsa, when he came out of the house, yorad v'toval, he went to the mikveh, and then v'shanal talmidov, he taught his students Torah. And now, again, he turned to his students and said to them, when I removed the tefillin before I went into the house, what were you suspecting me of? Why am I taking off the tefillin? Amarnu, so they said, we said to ourselves, you shouldn't bring tefillin into a place that's impure. Not only not into the house, but even 4 amas to the house, he already took off the tefillin. When I locked the door and I went in alone with her. With what did you suspect me then? Amarnu, so the students answered, we said, maybe there's a private matter and for the issues with the government that you have to discuss, and nobody has to be in private. When I came down and I went to go to the mikveh, what did you suspect me then? On Marno, so they said, Shemon nitza tzinoira mipia, maybe some spittle came out of her mouth, al begodov shel Rebbe, on your clothing, and therefore the Agayit, the Gemara says, Nachrim have the status of a zav, and therefore her spittle made you tameh, and therefore you went to the mikveh, although you could learn without going to the mikveh, but you went to the mikveh. Amalehem, he answered them, this is what happened. Va'atem kishem shedantuni l'zchus, just as you've judged me favorably. Hamakem yodin eschem l'zchus, the Eibusha should judge you favorably as well. Just one detail in this Gemara, both stories over here, where whether the story of Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi or the story of Rabbi Yeshua, that they were alone together with a woman, these stories must have happened before the Chazal made the Gzeira of Yichud, because if there would have been the Gzeira of Yichud, they wouldn't have done this either. Sagt der Gemara weiter, going back to the Mishnah. So it said you can clear out Truma Tahira, pure Truma that could be eaten. You're allowed to clear it out on Shabbos, and it's not Truma. Mefanen Truma Tahira v'chulu. Pshita. So the Gemara says it's obvious. If it's Truma Tahira, what should be the problem of moving it? Answers the Gemara, Leitzriche de mancha b'yad Yisrael. This is Truma that's in the possession of a Yid. It's not a Kohen that's moving this. Mao the time, so I would think to say, since this Yid, this Yisrael, cannot eat this Truma, also, so it should be forbidden for him to move, even though a kohen could eat it. Kamash malon. So that's the chiddush of our Mishnah. Even the chazia lekoyen, since the kohen could move this truma and eat it, shaper dami. So even the yid, it's not muktzah for him either, which is an interesting rule that we see here about muktzah. Something that's not muktzah for one individual, that it's fit for use for one person, somebody else that it's not fit for use for him, it's not muktzah for him either. Similar concept to what we learned before, but that Rava said, if something is not muktzah because it has a use in one area, even when it's in a different area, it's not muktzah either. Demai, the next case was in the Mishnah was Demai, which is something where there's a suffix if Truma was Maisris was taken from it or not. So this could be moved on Shabbos as well. Frek the Gemara, Demai, you're allowed to move Demai, but Halei Chazile. There's a Gzeira Midrabana, you should take Meiser from it again, because it's a suffix if the Meisers were taken, so how could you move it? It's not fit for eating. And says the Gemara, no, there is a way that you could eat from it on Shabbos as well. Kivin di Ibai, Mafkir Leila Nichse, if he wants, he could be Mafkir all of his possessions, Vahava Anya, and he'll be a poor individual, and then it will be fit for eating for him. So Hashtanami Chazile. So now as well, even though he's not a poor person and he can eat it, it's considered to be something that he can move on Shabbos. That now we learned in the Mishnah, you're allowed to give poor people demai to eat. These poor people are going around from door to door collecting food, and for them they were makel, and we said, since most people do take maisres, they can rely and eat this demai. Achsanya, Rashi says, refers here to the soldiers of the army of the king, that there's a responsibility to feed them. You can feed them also from this demai. Ravuna said, Tana, we learned in Abraisa, Beishamai said, Ein machilin asaniyim demai. You don't give the poor people to eat from the demai, Vesachsanya demai, or the soldiers to eat from the demai. But as Beisila and Beisila say, machilin asaniyim demai, you could give the poor people demai, Vesachsanya demai, or give the soldiers to eat from the demai as well. And that's the case we're talking about over here. So as Taisus points out, when the Gemara over here says that you could be mafkir your possessions and therefore you can eat it, the Gemara didn't have to go that far. We just said before that if a kohen could eat something for the Yisrael, it's not muktzah. So if the poor person could eat it, so it shouldn't be muktzah for you either. Why does he have to say that you could be mafkir it and eat it for yourself? So Taisus says the Gemara just shows you how far it's possible over here, that it's actually even roy for you yourself. But really the Gemara did not have to go that far. Sagt the Gemara weiter, it said in the Mishnah, Meiser Rishain shenitla trumasai, Meiser Rishain, where a person took the truma of it, so it's fit for eating, and you could move it on Shabbos. Fragt the Gemara pshita. It's obvious it could be moved, it could be eaten, why not? Answers the Gemara, leitzriche, the case of the Mishnah is needed in the following case. Shegdimo b'shibolim, that the Levi went and took the Meisris from the stalks, when the wheat is still in the stalks, before the truma was taken. V'nitla heimena trumas meiser. So now at this point, once he took his meiser, so he only separated trumas meiser, which is the 10% that he has to give to the kohen from his meiser. But v'nitla heimena truma gedayla. But the truma gedayla at this point is not taken anymore. V'chiyad amar Rabba amar Reish Lakish. Ma'aser Rishon she'ekdima b'shibayla, Ma'aser Rishon that the Levi went and took while the Tvua was still in their stalks, Potter mit Truma Gedayla. So at this point, it's going to be Potter from Truma Gedayla. Shenema, the pasuk says, V'harei Moisem mimenu Trumas Hashem Ma'aser mina Ma'aser. So we learn from here, Ma'aser mina Ma'aser marti lach v'loi Truma Gedayla. At this point, when you took it early, you don't take the Truma Gedayla. But Trumas, Ma'aser mina Ma'aser marti lach v'loi Truma Gedayla or Trumas Ma'aser mina Ma'aser. But you don't have to take both. You don't have to take Truma Gedayla and the Truma of Ma'aser mina Ma'aser. So therefore, that's what our Mishnah is teaching us over here, that even though it wasn't taken in the right order, but once the Levi took it earlier, so he just gives the Trumas Ma'aser, he doesn't give the Truma Gedayla, and therefore it could be moved on Shabbos. So Rav Papa said to Abaye, we had this once a long time ago, we learned this in Masechta Brachos. If this is the case, why are you saying that the case over here is that the Levi took the Ma'aser when from the stalks, and then he doesn't have to give Truma Gedayla? Even after it was taken out of the stalks and they made a pile of the kernels, so then if the Levi takes the Ma'aser first, the pasuk that we brought before should also apply, that now you only give Trumas Ma'aser and not Truma Gedayla as well. Amalei. So Abaye answered him, Alecha Makra, regarding your question, the pasuk says, Mikol matneseichem terimu. From all of your matanis you should give, and this is an extra pasuk that's marbe, that even in this case you have to give the Truma Gedayla. So the Gemara asks, what's the distinction? Why, if you took the Ma'aser earlier on when it was in the stalks, it becomes exempt from Truma Gedayla, and if you take it later when you made a pile, then we're marbe and we say that you do have to give the Truma Gedayla. So Yatzizim, it's a svara. Hi, idgen. Once it's already taken out of the stalks, then you create a pile, it's grain, and here the Truma Gedayla applies to the grain. That's where it says in the pasuk, the way Truma is described in the pasuk, as Rashi brings, Reish is the gancha, so therefore the mitzvah of Truma applies. V'hai lo yidgen. When it's still in the stalks, it's not called grain yet, and therefore over there the Truma Gedayla doesn't apply if the Levi took his Ma'aser first. The next thing we saw in the Mishnah was a Ma'aser Sheni, the Ma'aser Sheni that was redeemed, and the Hektish that was redeemed. You can move on a Shabbos because you can eat it. For the Gemara Pshita, it's obvious, and for the Gemara, Lo Yitzriche, Shenosan Es HaKeren. He, when he redeemed it, he redeemed it with the principal, but V'lo Nosan Es HaChaimish. He's supposed to add a fifth, and he did not add that fifth yet. V'hakamash the Chiddush here is, the Ein Chaimish Ma'akiv. The added fifth that you have to give is not Ma'akiv for the pidyon to take effect. The next thing it said in the Mishnah was Va'tormis hayavesh, dry tormis, some kind of a beans, is also allowed to be moved because you can feed it to goats. Zog the Gemara, dafke yavesh, it's only if they're dry. Avalach, if they're moist, loy, you can't. My timer, what's the difference? Kivin the mother, since it's bitter, loy achla. The goats will not eat this. A good Shabbos.